Hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today TV. I am Chetan Bhutani. Well, today I am joined by Mr. Arun G.R, CFO at Ola Electric, to discuss a whole lot of issues regarding the electric vehicle revolution in India and, of course, what Ola Electric has been doing in the EV space. Thank you, Arun, for joining us. Please tell us about the last fiscal that went by. How was the company's performance? We know record number of sales and good market share you've captured. So, what are the factors, and give us some numbers there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Chetan, for having me on your channel. Right. I think Ola came into the market literally first time in January 2022. So we're just having about under 18 months of billing, I would say. And we are very glad, as you would know from the Vahan numbers, we continue to be the number one in the EV sales consistently perhaps for the last 7 or 8 months consistently. So we did scale up in the first couple of months, which is normal. And then we have maintained our position in the Vahan. Currently, we have about 300,000 vehicles on road that are running. And, that's, if you see the market per se, right, the market in India has also grown. Or rather, I would say the penetration for the electric vehicles has gone up significantly over the last 12 months. And some of the primary reasons for this is the right availability of the products with the right features at the right price point for the customers. So as customers, Indian customers are very, very evolved in terms of their taste, their choice, and what they want, and in terms of how they adopt a revolution. Right? You would see that in laptops from desktops 20 years ago. You would see that in smartphones in the last 10 to 12 years playing out. Right. So it's a very similar journey in a new tech area like electric vehicles. I call it tech because it's a very different construct of a vehicle. Right. The ICE engine is very different. Right. That was a technology of 30 years ago. This is absolutely the clean technology where the driving factors are cell, battery, powertrain, electronics, software. This is really the driving factor. Rest of it is there, yes, metal and plastic, which all of us have now mastered in terms of how to do that. But the five components that I mentioned are at the core of technology. The future
Right.
of the technology is again ADAS and autonomous, right? And perhaps AI coming into it. So that's really where the industry is evolving. Penetration is quite high. The top 15 or 20 cities for scooters alone is close to 30-35%, which means almost one in every third scooter sold is an electric scooter in these cities, right? And the overall Vahan share you would see is about 5 to 6% of all two-wheelers sold. And if you take it as just scooters, it's probably 16 to 18%, right? So these are very excellent indications from an Indian economy and the policy perspective. It is starting to achieve the results in its direction. So if such similar products start coming out at all price points in motorcycles or cars, we believe there is generally a very good case for electric adoption in India, just like global trends, right? Perhaps even faster given the population choices here and the general cost advantage of electric vehicles over ICE, given the absolutely low running costs and maintenance costs.
Right. Also, I'd like to know about the trend towards electric vehicles. You mentioned about the penetration and when we see the traditional ICE vehicles for the motorcycles and scooters, the rural sales have already has been down for quite a long time for two-wheeler sales. Do you think a part of it has been because the migration from the traditional ICE vehicles of two-wheelers has shifted towards electric?
See, I think what is the trend, overall trend of the two-wheelers in India is I think the larger question, right? Because we did see a peak few years ago in two-wheelers, but 2022 has been a turning point, right? And that's largely true because you're coming out of COVID, right? There was a lot of dislocation of people, right, in terms of workplaces and home places, and in general, dropping incomes, right, and which affects middle class, and hence two-wheeler is a very middle class product in general. Of course, inside two-wheelers, you'll always have premium, mid-market, mass market, but in general, that's a middle class product. Now that we have come out of COVID, India has come out so strongly out of COVID, and the economy is looking up encouragingly. right? We are headed into an uptick of demand is our base scenario, right? Now, the rural is as intelligent and as demanding and as discerning, I would say, as the urban customer. So, in fact, the rural customer would adopt electric vehicle even faster, is our base case. With all the government program of electrification right up to the villages, it turns out to be very, very cost advantageous for a rural customer. And hence, the rural customer is even more sensitive to the price and value equation. So our reading is that penetration will be uniform and it is not dependent on rural versus urban. It is a bigger revolution that is now taking shape in the country.
Right. Also, Arun, you might agree with this fact that if Ola has to really capture the electric vehicle market, it has to lead from the front with respect to the two tier and three tier cities. So, how much money is being spent? Is I wanted to ask towards these two cities for setting up dealerships for electric vehicle charging infrastructure and other things.
See, in fact, a couple of things, right? First of all, where does Ola put its capital, right? Ola puts its capital in the right technology. We are technology biased company, right? Because in EV, the next 1.5 decades is all about technology, right? Because this supply chain, this technology is not there in any supply ecosystem in India, leave alone the world where it's evolving in many places. China's done obviously ahead of the game here, and India will catch up and beat China in this game, right? So we put our money behind technology.
Okay.
What it leads to is it leads to cost advantages, it leads to scale advantages, like the future factory we set up or the Gigafactory for cells that we set up. This leads to the right cost points and price points for customers of all the strata, right? And when we do that, that increases penetration for us, right? That's really the fundamental core of where we are putting our money. Second, if you look at our experience centers, we sell to literally more than 800 zip codes. Our experience centers are in A-class cities, so-called A, B, and C towns, right? As defined by population, as defined by urban, rural. So we are not biased to the top 15 or 20 cities. We are spread across the country.
Okay.
Right? And each experience center or each digital mode of sales will pay back for itself from a return on capital. Right?
Okay.
And the fundamental thing that we look for in the experience center is the product is the hero. Right? So we have simple experience centers. We don't invest much on interiors or the flashiness. It's functional and it is customer oriented with the product being the hero. So that's our experience centers. We've now set up almost 600 experience centers as we speak now. And in the next couple of months, this will go up to 1,000 experience centers. They're already under various stages of execution on the ground. So this increases our reach tremendously right into the hinterland, where our rural customers are as valuable and as intelligent and as discerning as customers anywhere in this country.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Also, one more thing is that if Ola is a technology based company and you have massive expansion plans, you would of course need capital to expand more. So there are reports of IPO. Could you give us the sense of when can the IPO be? What is that status? It is as a DRHP been filed, or how does the valuation at which the company is looking at for IPO?
See, all these reports in the public, I would probably label them as speculation,
Okay.
right? If and when we file a DRHP or have a plan, right? Firstly, we will share it with the regulatory authorities and obviously the media and then all our stakeholders, right? Now, sometimes these things get talked about in the market, which we have absolutely no control of. But for us, we believe that we are what you call an evolved automobile company today, right? 1.5 years ago, we were just starting up, right? We have got, I would say, a decent scale that we have. We have a product lineup that we keep announcing from time to time. We have our technology lined up, right? We have set up our supply chain, our Gigafactory and our future factory for scale. We build to scale. So that gives us scale benefits. So we
Absolutely. So, but
really
are you, so as of now, there are no IPO plans. You're not confirming, not denying.
Yeah, I don't think these are things that we can even discuss on the public, because the right process there is, even if you have, if you come there and if you have a plan, it's first regulatory, right? Then comes the public discussion. So
So are you kind of rubbishing all the reports that have been generated over the past few weeks?
no, it's not our job to rubbish reports or support reports, right? We just observe it just like anybody else observing from the outside, and we focus on
But
what we are
Arun,
doing
don't
best.
you think that in such market conditions, and as per the reports, nearly $1 billion IPO is being planned. So, don't you think in such market conditions it will not be the right time as of now uh, to bring in an IPO?
Yeah, with no connection to Ola Electric or the reports, if I have to just comment on the market in general,
Okay.
right? The market, it's generalized when we say the market is not good or market is bad or market is hot or cold, etc. But we have to realize that in the collective intelligence of the market is very intelligent, right? There are many IPOs which have happened globally in the last 12 months in the so-called not good market. There are IPOs which have happened in the electric space very, very successfully globally, right? Including some Chinese names, some European names. There have been fundraisers that have happened. The whole focus on the investor community is the following today, right? One, are you having profitable economics, or do you have impending profitability, right? Second, do you understand electric vehicles? Do you understand technology? Are you setting up the right supply chain for technology? Three, are you a leader of some sort, either in technology or volumes or country? Are you a leader? What is the unique selling proposition of the company? Who are the people in the company? Who's promoting the company? Does it have a great management team, right? And does it have a track record? So, does it have a good plan? Does it have a good vision? So, these are the things that investors look for, right? And these are very fundamental things. And that is what a company like ours would focus on, right? We probably tick the boxes everywhere. So, it becomes then natural that people start speculating on things, which of course isn't right to comment on the media or anywhere. But we continue doing our fundamental work, produce great products, great quality, ultimate safety for the customers at lowest cost, right supply chain and right scale with the absolute best technology that the Indian customer deserves.
Although I must appreciate how you have replied without maybe not replying. So clearly, I'll move on to the Cell Gigafactory part now. Uh, Bhavish also tweeted regarding that Cell Gigafactory manufacturing of lithium-ion cells company now focusing towards small commercial vehicles. Give us a outline of the whole development there.
See, the part of the cell gigafactory that is public is the fact that we have won a 20 gigawatt hour PLI ACC scheme, right? So that part is absolutely public, and it is our responsibility to keep updating the government from time to time on the progress. In fact, we have fortnightly meetings with the government to update them on the progress, because this is a very, in the government's words, this is a very important project for the country, because it's a high-tech cell manufacturing area globally. And India has all the ingredients to break the monopoly that China has today. 90% of cell manufacture in the world is in China, right? But China does not have any lithium, right? It is just the intelligent capex and technology that they've invested in. And India wants to become a global hub of cell manufacture, just like the other 13 or 14 sectors, high-tech sectors where government has announced PLIs. So the government is picking and choosing which area to play in and create a impact at the world stage. So our cell factory has started, and we are on track with the timelines that we're committed to the government of India. And hence, we have sort of reported the progress also, both in the private and the public domain. As you saw, we are done with our foundations. We will come live sometime in November. We have committed to the government that the first gigawatt hour will be commissioned before the end of this calendar year, right? So this is the publicly available information that we are tracking to. Now, the philosophy also for us is, when we come with a cell gigafactory like this, if I have to draw a parallel to the telecom industry, right? When we come in, we will come in at 5G. not 3G, 2G, and say that, okay, after 3 years, we'll go to 4G, and then 5G by the time the world has gone to 10G, right? So Ola will, again, the technology focused company that it will come in at the latest technology and lead the technology evolution in the cell space, which is exactly what the government of India is looking for, right? And that is really why they are encouraging PLI schemes, and ACC is being a critical part of that PLI series of schemes. So, that's the news about our Gigafactory, right?
Also, Arun, if I could ask you on investments in the Gigafactory and subsequently developing, small commercial vehicles and motorbikes.
Yeah. So investments in gigafactories, I will talk in a generalized manner than Ola specific. Globally in Europe, it takes them 80, $90 million per gigawatt hour to set up, right? The Korean industry takes about 65, right? Both China and Indian players are capable of setting it up below $50 million per kilowatt. That's how efficient, right, the Indian ecosystem can be. If you look at the discoveries of lithium that are happening, by the way, lithium is in plenty in the world actually. It's not a scarce mineral. It is just that we have not exploded enough simply because there were no EV vehicles earlier. So if you look at India itself, two great discoveries have been announced in Rajasthan and Jammu Kashmir. And we believe the state governments will come into a public tendering process soon. And obviously, any EV company that is setting up a gigafactory will be interested in the tendering process. Now, the whole ecosystem.
So Ola will also be looking at tendering for mining and mining the lithium from its reserves.
Yeah, any player that sets up a gigafactory will look to backward integration, right?
Okay.
Whether it results in a direct bid or a bid in a joint venture with somebody or a partnership are all nuances. But that's the normal direction for a gigafactory player, even if you see all the global players. They'll go into calcination, precursor, refining, concentrating, and the mine. Right? That's the core supply chain which China has developed, for example, given its EV industry. And that's what we are keen to bring into India. And that is what will make India another hub of cell manufacturing.
Also,
And
Arun, would you
yeah,
be, what about, small commercial vehicles and motorcycles for
yes.
2023? What are the targets there?
Yes, absolutely. The intention of a gigafactory, right? While we have not announced the specifics of what will come out inside, there is obviously a plan and a business plan. But the intention of any gigafactory will be typically to have multiple technologies, like an NMC or LFP. If you look at an LG factory in Korea, both the technologies will be present because the type of the cell depends on the use case. Like a light commercial vehicle probably needs a LFP, whereas a high performance two-wheeler where there's very less space to pack a battery pack needs an NMC technology. A battery storage typically works on LFP, right? And again, a car has a pouch format which is more popular, right? Not that cylindrical cells don't work, but in two-wheelers, typically cylindrical is what goes in given the space available to pack the battery. So all technologies, the typical form factors which have the right use in the right use case will automatically come into the gigafactory.
Right. Okay. Also, Arun, towards my last set of question, electric vehicle subsidy has been in the news for quite a long time. A lot of players being alleged to have, miscalculated or done some fraudulent activities with respect to the EV subsidy scheme or underreported. That were the allegations. So, where does Ola stand at that?
See, as we went the earlier part of a conversation, there is a topical conversation and there's a strategic conversation. In the topical conversation, it'll always be, people talking about how much fame is available, how much not available, when in, when out, etc. But the strategic conversation really is about building sustainable technology, supply chains, and scale. And that's really what Ola concentrates on. And which is why we keep saying we are a technology biased company, scale biased company, and we want to set up future factories, not conventional, but the latest contemporary ways of manufacture. So when you set up a company for fundamentals, right, then automatically the discussion on subsidies and incentives are of less importance to us. We think
Okay.
the government has done a great job by providing the initial impetus in fame, right? And it is to each company whether they've used the time to develop their strengths or not. And for those in the ICE industry, if they think that FAME going away will kill the EV industry, that will again perhaps be a strategic mistake because the customer trend is firmly towards electric vehicles. So we believe there's only one direction that India needs to go into, which is electric. And there's only one direction that companies need to focus on, which is strengthen their cost position and supply chains so that they make this a successful industry, not only for the company, but for the country at large.
But
And
Arun, don't you think that, so basically you're supporting that the government's initial impetus towards the subsidy was good, but now it's better that the companies take over themselves and start manufacturing on a larger scale?
absolutely, whether it is an ICE company or an EV company, there is no advantage for the ICE company because subsidies go away if they think there is any. And there is no advantage, there is no disadvantage for an EV company if they think the subsidies have gone down, right? Because the direction is clear, EV on one side, and the task is clear on the other side, which is supply chain technology and scale.
Okay. Also, when I talk about the EV subsidy, the prices of Ola vehicles have also increased. Why are you accounting for that factor?
Why am I counting? Sorry, I didn't get that question.
So, with the subsidy gone, the prices of electric vehicles are bound to rise, and I think Ola is also planning to or has increased prices. So, what do you say on that then?
Yeah, I mean, these are very nominal price increases that we have taken. I think single digit perhaps in terms of percentage, right? So these are normal course of business is how I'd classify them, right? We have product lineups coming at various price points. So we have our own pricing and product strategy, which obviously cannot be disclosed in the public. So we are very strategic in the way we take our calls on price and product. So you have to see this play out over the next 6 months.
All right. So, is it okay to assume the fact that Ola has increased the prices without putting in knowledge about the FAME subsidy scheme being withdrawn?
I would say our pricing and product strategy is independent of a subsidy or a lack of subsidy fact, right?
Okay.
So, which is why I call one is strategic and India building, and the other is tactical and bit of a noise.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Also, Arun, Tesla actually plans to come to India. Is Ola threatened with it?
No, absolutely not. See, anybody in it's India is fundamentally a democracy. It has stable tax policies, and we've had terrific encouragement for the industry in the last decade, especially the last 5 years, where the PLI schemes have made a big difference to the Indian manufacturing ecosystem. So Tesla should come if they want to come, and they should come on even terms instead of crying about duties, right? They should commit capital to the country and manufacture like all of us, go through the normal local ecosystems. And if they learn to be an Indian in India, they're welcome. Why Tesla? Anybody should be welcome, right? But what is most important is create local jobs, create the local ecosystem, create the local GDP, and ensure that you export from the country so that the country's interests and country's foreign exchange, country's growth are first in mind. You shouldn't come here with a mindset that I want a duty subsidy. I'll take money out of the country in terms of dividends and profitability. That doesn't work in India anymore. Otherwise, we encourage everybody and anybody in India globally, in the current EV industry or not, or in the current ICE industry to do more and more production, more and more capable production in EV. Competition builds industry, competition builds penetration. So we are absolutely open about that.
Okay. Well, Mr. Arun, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure as always to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.